The Mayberry Investments Limited Virtual Investor Forum has been the standard for investor education in Jamaica for decades, where top financial minds provide comprehensive insight into the market and ideal investment strategies and opportunities for our clients. Celebrating 37 years of excellence in investment banking. The Mayberry Virtual Investor Forum, investing in Jamaica.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to our virtual investor forum. I'm your host, Dan Theok, Senior Vice President of Investment Banking. Today we'll be talking about Blue Power Group Limited, and I'm pleased to have joining with us its chairman, Jeffrey Hall, and Vijay Tolan, the general manager. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll introduce them to you formally in a minute. In the meantime, I'd like to extend apologies for Chairman Christopher Berry and Gary Parrott, who will not be able to join us today. Thanks everyone else for being with us, to our faithful viewers. And for those of you, if you're a fan of the content, subscribe to stay up to date with our uploads. And be sure to hit the like bell to receive all of our notifications. We publish videos like this just about every week. By the way, we'll be announcing the winners of the giveaways, so stick around until the end of the program. We'll also be taking questions from social media, so be sure to send in your questions in the live chat, and we'll address them later on in the program. If you're looking to embark on your very first investment journey, take that first step with Mayberry Investments Limited. Follow us on social media today to get started. First up, let's talk about Blue Power, what it is. For those of you who don't know, Blue Power was founded in 2001 to meet the demand for cake laundry soap in Jamaica. The company was started by the same team behind Lumber Depot Limited, which was founded in 1998. They began with small laundry soap manufacturing operations at Victoria Avenue up in Papine, the same location where Lumber Depot's head office is. Blue Power Limited, as it was known at the time, was later merged in April 2010 with Lumber Depot, and they formed what today is known as the Blue Power Group. It has since grown to be the largest manufacturer of bar soaps in Jamaica. It was also the second company listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange Junior Stock Market, second behind Access, both companies listed by Mayberry. Now let me introduce you to Jeff Hall, who's with us. He's the chairman of Blue Power Group Limited. He's also the chairman of Lumber Depot Limited. More recently, he was appointed the CEO of Pan Jamaica Group Limited. Additionally, he was also appointed to its board as the executive vice chairman. He continues to hold the position of the Group Managing Director of Jamaica Producers Group, and he's been a member of that board since 2004. And he's also the chairman of Kingston Wharfs Limited and several other companies. Too many to list, folks. Trust me, he's a brilliant fellow. Welcome, Jeff. Glad to have you as usual.
Good to be here, Dan.
Additionally, in the past, he served as chairman of the boards of Scotia Group and Scotia Bank Jamaica Limited, and he served as a director on the boards of the Jamaica Stock Exchange and the Bank of Jamaica. And in 2022, Jeffrey was awarded the Office of Distinction and the rank of Commander Class by the government of Jamaica. Brilliant fellow, folks. Trust me when I tell you. Welcome, Jeff. Glad to have you here as always. Next up, I want to tell you guys about Vijay Tolan. Vijay is the general manager of Blue Power Group Limited. Before joining the team, he spent 8 years with Grace Kennedy Group, where he held leadership roles across various business units locally and overseas. These include Grace Foods International, Grace Foods USA, Grace Foods Domestic, Dairy Industries Jamaica Limited, and the Global Category Management Unit. His background includes marketing, logistics, warehousing, and strategic planning. And today, he, alongside with Jeffrey, will be talking to us about Blue Power Group. Vijay, welcome to our program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. I think it's your first time.
Yes, it is.
Jeffrey, I cannot count how many times you've been with us in many different capacities, but as usual, welcome. We're always glad to have you here with us.
Good to be back.
Good deal. Well, first up, let me take my independent view of the financial performance of Blue Power before we get into some Q&A with Jeffrey and with Vijay. Okay, so first up, we're going to talk about the financial performance for the year ended April 2023. And looking at the performance of the business and how well they did or did not do. First up, revenues for the year were up by 68% to a whopping $871 million. Gross profit was up by 37% to $209.7 million. They contained their administrative expenses well, reducing them by 7% to $178 million. And the result was a operating profit of $29.7 million, a turnaround from a operating loss the year before of $35 million. Unfortunately, they had some large one-off gains, about $174 million in other income last year, where you saw $220 million of other income. So instead, we see other income falling to $44 million. It looks like an 80% fall, but as I said, they had $174 million of one-off income last year in relation to the sale of property and investments. So that was never going to repeat itself. They've also managed to reduce, they also had finance income, I beg your pardon, falling by 27% to $19.3 million. And the net result is a profit after tax of $81 million compared to $193 million the year before. Of course, as I said before, when you take the $174 million of one-offs out of the equation, what you really have is a $71 million increase in their continuing operations. Total assets up by 5% to a whopping $1.6 billion. And it's pretty impressive to see a manufacturing company carrying $360 million in fixed assets, $239 million in inventory, almost $360 million in cash and cash equivalents. And we'll definitely be asking why are they carrying so much cash later on in the program. But a solid balance sheet, $35 million of debt, but I mean in terms of net debt, zero, because they've got $300 million in cash and cash equivalents. So it's a business rich in assets, in the manufacturing space, doing reasonably well in terms of profitability. I'm definitely expecting increased profits as we go forward because he's sitting down on so much cash and cash equivalents. It's got to be that they're going to use that $320 plus million to further grow the business. And that'll be another question that we'll get into. Currently, the stock's trading at $3.59. It's a little rich from a PE perspective. That's a 25 times PE ratio in the junior market. That's typically trading at about 16 times, but the price to book value is only 1.35 times. And again, they're sitting down on $1.5 billion of shareholders' equity, $1.2 billion specifically in retained earnings. So it's a business that's accumulated profits over the years, and we expect them to continue to grow going forward. Market cap at $2 billion. And, it's a stock I like. Again, I think it's trading a little rich, but I do expect them to grow into that valuation. And I think by the time we're finished the program, you guys will likely concur. Next slide shows the profit performance quarterly. And again, you can see Q2 2022, it had that large profit for the quarter. I presume that captures the quarter where they sold the investments and property and made that gain. Thereafter, we see the quarterly profits, fairly flat in the $10 to $12 million space. And in Q4, all of a sudden, jump in profitability to $52 million. We'll be talking about that a little bit because this is the makeup of how they did $82 million for the last year, making 60%, 70% of that profit in the last quarter alone. Next slide shows how the stock's been trading. And we can see it's, traded up and down, traded at a high of almost over $5.50 and currently traded down, like we said, at $3.59. Trading rather richly, as I said, at a PE of 24 times, but I do expect them to grow into that valuation. We expect PE ratios to generally be increasing over the next 6 months as interest rates start to fall in the marketplace, and I certainly expect that lumber will be increasing their profitability as they go forward. That profit in terms of ROE is about 6%, so again, a little bit low from an ROE perspective, but again, they've got over $300 million to deploy to continue growing the business. And with that, that's pretty much my analysis. So I do want to jump into a few questions, Jeff and VJ, and you guys can decide who wants to tackle one. Guys, give me the first question that you have. What has led to the company's improved in revenue performance? VJ, why don't you take that one?
Thank you. So, Blue Paw has, I would say, done a pretty fair job at recovering, and we're pretty happy about the improved performance. Over the last year, a lot of emphasis has been placed on improving our service levels, and in particular as it relates to strengthening our relationship with our co-packers. And as a manufacturing company, that's critical for our growth. So over the past 12 years, we have placed particular emphasis on working with our co-packers, seeing how best we can improve our relationships with them in terms of growing their revenue and growing their volumes. And so far, it has reaped success for us. So we do look forward to continued growth with them. And again, it's a part of, I think, what we do and how we want to position ourselves as being nimble. A big part of our success, I think, is how we work with our partners and our strategic co-packers. We do our best to identify their needs. We do our best to facilitate their needs as a manufacturer, and we do our best to invest in their business, because ultimately, if they win, we win, and that's how we see it. So I would say ultimately, an investment in our strategic co-packers. There are a lot of efficiencies that we also gained from investment in CapEx. We have improved in a very big way how we produce efficiently, and we have looked at our machinery, and I know there are questions to come about that, and I won't speak too much on that right now because we're going to delve into it, but that has helped us in terms of improving our cost efficiency, improving our service levels, and I'll say overall those are critical areas that helped us to move our revenue figures.
Sure, thanks for that, Vijay. And let's jump right into that. So tell me a little bit about the capital projects that you had in the last year or so, and how those helped to improve efficiency. We saw in the audited financial statements that you spent over $129 million, I want to say, in improving your plant. So
right. So laundry soaps have been a big part of our business, as you identified earlier. What's interesting for us, and is deliberate, is that our bath soap production has been improving. So the production of bath soaps have increased year over year, I would say by about 45%, thereabout. And a big part of this is an investment in a machine called a Stampex, where we're now able to produce more volume in less time. So our investment in that particular product, in that particular machinery, I'd say threefold increased our production capacity. And that investment has also afforded us the opportunity to grow our business. In other words, we're now able to take on more business because of the production capacity. We have also invested in a larger piece of machinery that will afford us the opportunity to increase again the production capacity. So what we will end up with is a production capacity of, let's say, and just to go a bit granular, 5 soaps per stamp to what I would call maybe 12 soaps per stamp now. So ultimately, year over year, our production capacity has increased by about 3 times.
Good deal. So we saw 66% growth in revenues. We've seen this investment in the CapEx. What capacity factor are you operating at? How much further could you grow your revenues without having to make another huge capital investment?
So we are now in a position to grow our revenues exponentially without making further capital investment in terms of production machinery on the bath soap side. And again, that was very deliberate, that was very strategic. Our objective as a manufacturing company is to be able to provide for the market in a very big way. We see where there are many opportunities to through co-packing opportunities and through our own brands to gain more space on shelf. And we want to engage our customers in terms of growth. And so the investments that we've made today have positioned us very well to grow our business. So given the investment we've made in our production machinery today, I'd say that over the next 2 to 3 years, we should be in a very comfortable position as it pertains to expanding the volume of bath soaps that we do.
Good deal. And last one for you before I jump over to Jeffrey. What percentage of your revenues would you say is coming from exports? And then I thought of your business 10 years ago as a cake soap business, but could you give us a little bit more of a feel for what percentage of your revenues comes from different categories of soaps? So percentage for exports and then maybe categories of soaps.
No problems. So the export market is certainly critical for us. And, we, in 2022, were at, it was about 7% of our revenues. I'm pleased to say that for 2023, the percentage of exports has increased to about 10%. And we've actually doubled our export figures from 2022 to 2023. And that's given our overall increase in revenue.
Right.
So it stands at about 10%. Now, we have partnered for our own Blue Power brands with strong distributors, particularly in the USA, and we keep engaged with them, and there are plans to continuously grow that business. So the distributors of Blue Power in the US is Iberia Foods.
Mm-hmm.
They have a very wide footprint across the US, both on the northeast and the south, Florida, and they've also expanded their footprint to Texas. So through our partnership with Iberia as our key distributors in the USA, we are looking to see an increase in distribution across the US. Additionally, we emphasize strategic partnerships, as mentioned before, and this extends to co-packing arrangements in the US.
Right.
So we have seen growth as well in our co-packing arrangements for partners and customers within the US market. Additionally, we're working with co-packers right now, so some of our customers who are seeking to enter the US market, in particular chains, large chains, and that is in train. And again, I just want to point out that it points to how nimble we are as a company, because what we seek to offer to our customers as a manufacturer is great service and great service levels. And so if you were to ask the question, how important is exports to us, it's very important. And we're being, again, very deliberate about how we try and grow this market. So the USA is growing for us. We're also looking to the Canadian market. As it is right now, we have already engaged a potential ethnic distributor within the Canadian market, particularly in the Ontario area. And that is looking to be very optimistic. And we'll continue to push for that. And we're hoping that for Q2, as we continue to push forward, that we'll be able to start sending product to Canada.
Good deal. And cosmetic soaps or regular
mix.
soaps versus laundry detergents? Can you give me a rough?
So it's a mix. So for the U.S. market, for all our markets, and just to point out, we are in the U.K. as well.
Okay.
And we're on the Cayman Islands. Mm-hmm. But in a very large, in terms of our overall exports, the U.S. makes up a majority of it. So it's a pretty wide variety in terms of what the type of soaps that we do sell into the U.S. market and into the other markets. So while we are known as a cake soap company,
right.
The name Blue Power itself, speaks to different variety of soaps, and within the respective markets, there is there is variety within our distribution.
So is cake soap more than 10% of your sales? Yes or no?
Yes.
Is cake soap more than 10% of the sales? Yes, it is. And this is both domestic and in the export market.
Good deal.
And, again, while cake soap has been our our
Foundation.
our foundation,
Yeah,
our
yeah,
base.
yeah.
You know, that's how we've grown. Again, we're very optimistic about bath soaps
Right.
because the volumes have, as mentioned earlier, have grown exponentially year over year. Where 2022, 2023, we've seen again, about 40-odd%, 43%, I believe, growth in bath soap sales, and the investments that we have made within our factory for production have been specifically targeted to bath soaps. And when I say bath soaps, I speak to a variety of bath soaps because we are capable of doing medicated, natural,
Cosmetic, this,
cosmetic, traditional beauty. And we do see that the market out there, there is a demand, and that on shelf, there's great opportunity. And again, this is testament to why we've made this type of investment in our CapEx.
Makes sense to me. Mr. Hall, what isn't vehemently clear to me is why are you sitting on 4 years' profit in the form of your cash and cash equivalents? You have about $330 million in that regard. What are you planning to do with this money, sir?
Well, let me just give you a little bit about our story and how we got to this place. 'Cause I think that context is going to be useful when we talk about the future.
Good deal.
So the headline narrative of the business, if you look back a couple of years, is that the founders of the business, the leadership of the business, had built an important CARICOM revenue line, sales to CARICOM. That became challenged. There were legal challenges to that, and the business had to reinvent itself. And that reinvention is reflected in the results of 2023. And from where I sit as chairman, it's a testimony to very strong management and leadership of the business. And in words that Vijay used, it's agility. So the business has, as its general manager, Vijay Solan, and as an executive director, Lisa Khan, and a team that's solid. And we believe that at the board level, that we can back this growth. And we believe that's the story of 2023. So the question then becomes, how did we reinvent ourselves with the drop in revenues that took place as a result of the challenge to our CARICOM exports? So as Vijay said, the strategy was to say to ourselves, we are expert manufacturers of bar soaps. There is no person in the Caribbean that manufactures more bar soaps than we do. And to answer your question, round about 50% of the bar soaps that we do are laundry soaps, and round about 50% of the soaps that we do are bath soaps.
Okay.
But as Vijay mentioned, the category of soap that we call bath soap, which is bar soap,
It's quite wide.
is quite wide. And importantly, it's growing fast. And so in the year behind us, we invested in that business. We drew down some cash to do that, and we got a payback. And what we determined is that we are outstanding manufacturers. And what we need to do is to identify the best distributors in the markets that we want to target. And we need to identify the best brands in those markets and make ourselves available to them. The first order of business was Jamaica. And so we signed up partners, as Vijay mentioned, that can distribute, that can give us a route to market, that have strong brands, excellent distribution. And you see the results, 66% revenue growth. Next order of business is to do that internationally. In the United States, which is where the growth is beginning, and then beyond. So what we did in the year is we bought plant and equipment where we're now running a single shift. And of course, if we add another shift and another shift, you can triple the business.
Right.
And so we intend to continue investments like that. We also acquired property adjacent to our business. We bought 2 acres in the city of Kingston, right adjacent to us, we can further expand. And we've started the process of scoping a wholesale investment in primary production of soap. Now, we are going to make demand-led investments, meaning that we're going to invest as we see the growth.
Right.
And so what we wanted to do is to make sure that we had cash on hand to do that. Going back finally to the question of strong management, we believe that Jamaica has what I would call local heroes in food and drink. And you can name those names. But we believe that there's an opportunity for Jamaica to have a local hero in personal care manufacturing. And so we want to get our management team comfortable, but have the cash resources and the land available to do that. So once we get the bar soap business working well, as it has done in 2023, then we go from there to liquid soaps, then we go from there to detergents, we go from there to skincare, etc. All always backed up by strong distribution partners and strong brands.
Well, thanks for that. And Jeff, I mean, this is you're chairman, but you also are the largest shareholder in this business. So this is something that's important to you, correct?
The largest shareholder of the business is on the share register.
Yep.
And it's Antibes Limited.
Yes. Oh, that's not you?
I'm connected.
Okay, just checking. So this one's personal to you, and you're heavily invested in it. And, folks, I just wanted to make that point because, as I said before, Jeffrey is a brilliant guy. He's a friend of 20 years, but I'm not biased by that. He really is. And it's interesting to see the connections, the need to grow through distribution and export, which are business lines that he's all too familiar with. And you talked about food and distribution, and again, area that you have great experience with. The board is a very impressive board, and I do want to give a special shout out to Dr. Tanner, one of the founders, and what he's done and built this board. And I apologize, it's a great board. I could name 5 others, but I did want to start with Dr. Tanner. And also in terms of your management, again, Lisa, a great person. I've known Lisa Kong again for about 30 years. So I think you have excellent management team, and so I really do believe in the growth and potential of the business, and I look forward tremendously to what's going to happen there. So, folks, remember to send in your Q&As. I'm going to start taking them in a second. I just have 1 or 2 more questions I need to get through. This one maybe for VJ. Why are you holding what looks like about 6 months worth of inventory, VJ? Mind you, that's down from about 9 months in the previous year.
Right.
But I was just curious to know, why are you holding about 6 months worth of inventories?
So, to put it into perspective, during COVID, that was a pretty challenging time for many businesses, including Blue Powell. Now, at that time, the price of raw material, specifically saponificated noodles, which come from Southeast Asia, was skyrocketing. And the onus was on us to responsibly monitor prices. And as we factor our selling price and, consider our margins, we had to make a decision based on our outlook of the price of noodles, saponificated noodles. And as we monitored the prices, we recognized that we had to make a decision about purchasing noodles at particular points in time, which deviated from our normal purchasing routine, which, our ideal is really to hold about 3 months of inventory. And so what that translated to was purchasing noodles at the lowest price at that time, and in particular quantities, and in this case, larger quantities than the norm, because our outlook was that over the next few days, over the next few weeks, it would skyrocket even higher, which was what it turned out to be. And so we recognized the challenge this would have on our books. But as we looked at, one, our customers and our partners, and the challenge that would come to the fore if we were to pass on extremely high price increases, and how we could curb that or suppress that as best as possible. What we came up with was, let us engage our saponificated noodle suppliers at this point and purchase outside of the normal routine. And that's what ended up happening. But however, the plan was always to normalize thereafter. So the point that you make about it being higher at 9 months, now it's down to 6 months, is a part of our plan. And as we move forward into this year, this will normalize again to a point where it's about, carrying about 3 months. We're carrying about 3 months inventory.
I
Great.
can just add
Sure,
just
please.
a little bit. So the color is that if you look back at the beginning of last financial year for this business, you had the Ukraine war breaking out. Ukraine is a huge producer of sunflower oil, and the underlying vegetable fats that go into soap are palm oil.
Right.
And so you had a massive supply chain disruption. You had a logistics issue, particularly when you're hauling product from Southeast Asia, which is where this originates. And not only were you facing logistics prices, but you were facing an availability issue with containers.
Yeah.
Finally, it's important for the listeners to be aware that we had a 66% increase in revenues. Now, people didn't bathe 66% more
Right.
year on year. What it means is that we gained market share, which means we gained new customers.
And you didn't drive up the prices significantly either, I suspect.
Our margins actually compressed during the
Right,
year. So look at our gross margin percentage.
Down from
It was from
29%
29 to
to
24 or
25%.
25. So we took some margin compression because we didn't want to pass on 100% of the raw material price increases that we faced.
Right.
But the main point is that we onboarded very significant new customers.
Excellent.
And as Vijay mentioned, I think he's at the front line of this, the last thing we wanted to do when we signed up those new customers is to let them down from a supply chain perspective.
Right.
And so we took the decision to hold more inventory. It's becoming more stable. Prices are becoming more stable. Availability is becoming better. Logistics is becoming better. And so you'll see that that inventory balance be released into cash,
In the next financial year.
which we can talk about in the future.
Absolutely. And I want to commend you because, as it turns out, like I said, the business has, zero debt effectively on a net cash basis. And so it wasn't a case, and you're not carrying significant amounts of payables either. So you're using your resources wisely in this regard. And I do expect that should unwind favorably to you as your
Yeah.
supply chain issues normalize in the future. So commendations to the team for that move. Okay, going over to social media, and I've got folks saying hello from China. Thanks for joining us, Jermaine Davis. Folks from Toronto. Wow, I'm impressed. First question coming in is from David Rose, who says, what opportunities do you see to grow your business locally, and how have you managed to deal with the rising prices which eroded margins in the last year? So I think we talked about margins and blah, blah, blah. So what opportunities do you guys see to grow the business locally?
Go first and I'll go second.
Okay, thanks. That's a very good question. So locally, there are a few opportunities that we see and that we're assiduously working towards. One, we see an opportunity to onboard more new customers. And, ultimately, a key strategy of ours is to identify soaps in the market for which we can start manufacturing. So soaps not manufactured by us currently, but soaps that we know we can make, and soaps that we know we can make well.
Right.
So when I say target new customers, I mean target new customers that currently have soaps in their product suite,
Right.
and give them a very good reason to switch to Blue Pearl. One. Two is identify new customers that don't currently sell soaps However, they have the distribution network, they have great teams, and they would make great partners. And with our support that we know we can provide them, you know, engage them and support them to as they sell our products. So the next one would be to get new customers that don't sell soaps right now. 3, a big part of what we do is innovate. And over the past year, that has become one of our mantras. And so with our current customers and even new customers that are not on board as yet, we see an opportunity to touch new spaces within the soap world that are not currently tapped by our local manufacturers. So we're currently innovating with numerous customers on products that are unique to our markets and products that are not unique. So I'd say on those 3 pillars, new customers, building more with current customers, and innovating more with both current and new customers, that's how we're looking to grow in the domestic market. And additionally, for our Blue Power-owned brands, consistently, we're going to be consistent, or continue to be consistent in kind of working with our own distributors to innovate and expand our footprint out there.
Good deal. Jeff, follow up for me. So this $350 million growth in revenues, we're big on Mayberry about, growing our economy. How much of this can we think of as being import substitution potentially? And then when you dream of your 5-year outlook for the business and how much you can grow revenues by, again, on the export side, how much can this business help contribute towards, exports? I'm all about balance of payments, basically.
Right. So, we have a relatively high market share in the laundry soap category.
Okay.
And so while there is some potential for growth there, we think that the large share of the growth is going to be in the bath soap category. Within the bath soap category, we think we have market share in the overall across all brands and products that we supply within this space. We think we have in the high teens, let's say 18 to use a number. And so obviously we think there's headroom. When we look at the range of soaps, be it natural, be it antibacterial, be it medicated, be it beauty soaps with skincare properties, across the board we think we're price competitive.
Internationally?
In the domestic market.
Domestic market, okay.
Internationally, we think we can find a pathway to being competitive within CARICOM.
Okay.
And we think we can find a pathway to being competitive on products that have some local connection or ingredients, turmeric, whatever. Now, on the so that's the potential, and I would say that of the remaining market share that's in Jamaica, by far in the bath soap category, the largest share of it is imported. Okay. And so there is an import substitution play, there's an employment play, there's an FX savings play.
Yeah, and if you can get your gross profit margin back to 29%, it does mean you're adding value, right, and creating value that we're trapping within the country.
Yeah, that's important, and I think you'll see some improvements there. But I think where Vijay mentioned, the focus is this business of being a private label manufacturer.
Yep.
And so in that context, we're going to have to be very lean
right.
To grow the business.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
And you'll see that we, in the year, hit our target of holding, the target was to hold overheads flat, but they're in fact down 6%.
Yep. You reduced your cost by 7%. That was pretty impressive. Okay, a few more questions coming in. From Orville Reeves, does Blue Power manufacture shower gels? And do you see Blue Power building out in that area? Vijay? Jeff?
Short answer.
Yeah.
Short answer is yes.
Right.
It's not in the 2023-24 plan, but we believe that the shower gel component of the market represents another kind of doubling of the overall scale of the business. And we believe that the brands that we've identified, that we've targeted, that we supply, are a natural starting point. But obviously there's some capital expenditure there and there's some market risk. So we want to land the book of business that we've targeted for 23, 24.
Right.
Then I would say 24, 25 would be when we begin to organize ourselves to look at that.
So when you mentioned liquid soaps before, was that more in the laundry space?
No, it's in the bath and shower space.
Okay.
But it is not for the current financial year, but it would be in the future.
Got it.
But obviously the land banking, if you will, was done with that in mind.
Right. And so when I think of the hotel industry, which is another strong industry that Jamaica depends on, is there good potential there, you would say, Jeff, for you guys to try to get into that space with the supply of soaps and shower gels and whatnot? And is that a big space that you're filling today? Or
I think it's for VJ to take, because VJ has a live project now.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us.
Anybody who's
Yeah,
listening
so-
is operating a hotel.
Yeah.
You can give you
So-
the number.
Yes.
So, as mentioned before, our machinery has afforded us many opportunities. So, we do hotel-size soaps now. We do have that capability, and we are supplying to various hotels and villas. Additionally, we have expanded the type of hotel soaps that we're able to make, and within the last year, we have onboarded even more customers within that hotel space. Now, moving forward into the year ahead, as kind of mentioned earlier, in terms of our Blue Power owned brands and expanding the footprint, we will be, and we're working on a project right now, which will come to fruition in Q2, the latest, to touch even more distribution points, because hotel is one sector which uses that specific type of soap. Airbnb is another sector
Right.
that we want to tap into, because we have gotten a lot of queries about this. And so we're coming up with, I'd say, a solution to persons who have Airbnbs. So you can look out for it very soon.
Good deal.
It's a live project. We've definitely assessed that we're price competitive. And as Vijay mentioned, right now it's about distribution optimization.
Yeah.
So we need to find the right distribution solution, but we have the product and we have the price point.
Good deal. And in terms of distribution, we'd be happy to introduce you to a few people. We know two great distribution companies that are pretty strong in that space, free of cost. I just
Bring
want
'em
to see Blue Power doing exceptionally well. And I forgot to declare a small conflict. Mayberry is I think roughly 20% shareholder through MJE, so we do like Blue Power a lot. Again, doesn't bias my ultimate view. Back to the Q&A. We have a few more minutes left here. Jeff mentioned being demand-driven. Is it that you will look to solar and renewable means as you increase the scale of production?
So we made an investment in solar, led by Dr. Tana, as you'd mentioned. And that's delivering for us. And we do have capacity limits in terms of the quantum of panels that we can rely on. We've done solar so far, and I would imagine that and it's paying off, and if we expand to a new site, we would definitely incorporate solar.
Good deal. Your utility costs look reasonably under control, so I was actually pretty impressed with that. So it's good to see that going on there. And then, Jeff, next 5 years, where do you think your top-line revenues can go? What's your dream? You're about to touch $1 billion. I'm going to predict you're going to break $1 billion in this next financial year. But over the next 5 years, where do you see those revenues going? What's the target that you're going to set for VJ?
Well, Vijay will set his targets. I don't target revenues. I target return on investment.
I like that.
And profits. But in terms of where we see the potential as a team,
Yep.
and I don't want to give the view that I am setting the targets in the way you described. We have people who have deep experience in the industry, and the revenue line and the cost line with Vijay and Lisa. But we believe that we ought to be in the high 30s in market share within 3 years. And so, in the Jamaican space, that's a doubling. We believe particularly in the bath soap,
Yep.
but certainly overall, we think there's a potential there. We believe that we ought to have a business that is on the order of 50% of the size of the Jamaican business in CARICOM within that window. And we believe we ought to have a similar sized business outside of CARICOM. And so once those pillars together are in place, I think you'll see, I think taking a view in 5 years of a tripling of revenues is not at all unrealistic. Let me get Vijay to give a view.
Yeah, no, so I agree with Jeffrey in terms of, who you want to be and, where you want to be in 3 years. So I do see us improving our volumes over the next 3 years. And given the projects that we're working on and, what we call our critical business initiatives, which really drive our ways of working every year, I do see us onboarding new customers, onboarding more partners, not just in the domestic market, but in the Caribbean market. We're going to be making a big push to gain some market share in the Caribbean and in the other export markets. So what I would say is in 3 to 5 years, when you mention Blue Power, for the customer, the consumer, anybody out there, we want them to think, as Jeffrey mentioned earlier, of us as the company in Jamaica that is the, when it comes to personal care, the leaders, the dons, because we know it well and we manufacture well. And ultimately, when you're a customer and Blue Power reaches out to you, or you reach out to Blue Power to provide a service to you, you must have so much confidence that you will be getting service, you'll be getting product on time, in full, service levels above 95%. That is where we want to be. And we think once we achieve that particular objective, the sky is the limit.
Great, sounds good to me. Tell me, for those of us who aren't familiar with some of the leading products that you manufacture or co-brand, if you will, so that we can appreciate, other than the blue cake soap, what we need to go out and buy. I always like to buy products from companies that I invest in.
Yeah, I mean, one of the secrets of being a good co-packer, a good manufacturer,
Yes.
is you gotta love all your children.
Yep.
And so there's a certain sense in which we want to present ourselves as agnostic between the brands that we manufacture.
Mm-hmm.
We want to present ourselves as loyal to those brands, and we also want those brand owners to take responsibility for their own brand narrative.
Right.
But let me say it this way. If you go to a supermarket in Jamaica and look at the shelf and pick up a bar soap and turn it around and see that it says made in Jamaica, I would say that there is a 85% probability
That you made
that
it.
we made it.
Okay.
So I encourage everybody to go to the supermarket, turn the soap around and look at the back of it. And if it says made in Jamaica and you're a stockholder, buy it and you'll see the results.
Good deal. And I'm big on buying products.
And it'll
made in
be
Jamaica, by the
obvious,
way.
well-known consumer names that have been in this country
Right.
as prominent soap brands for a long period of time. And frankly, we are really impressed with the capacity of the soap brands that we work with and the distributors that lead them.
Excellent. Well, I think we've covered all of our questions, and I do hope that our listeners will agree with me that the growth potential for this business is tremendous. It's good to hear. I've heard you don't really need to focus on throwing a lot more capital to grow the revenues. You could grow them threefold on the existing capital base. You guys have already bought 2 acres next door, and you're prepared for looking at the next demand-led opportunity. It's great board, great management team, and so, Vijay, it's not impossible that you could grow by another 60% in terms of revenues in the next financial year, is it?
Well, we're putting plans in place to ensure certainly that our volumes increase
Yep.
exponentially. Again, exports are a big part
big
of where
part
we're
of the
looking. And we do have plans to aggressively improve those revenues. And I would say that for this year in particular, we will be strongly focused on business development.
Good deal. Well, I look forward. I look forward to it. Well, once again, Jeff, always a pleasure having you. VJ, pleasure to have you here
Thank
for
you.
the first time. We're going to have you guys back in the next 6 months. VJ in particular, because Jeff could come back in 6 months and it would be one of 5 other companies he's representing. But for Blue Power specifically, we'd like to get a follow-up discussion in the next 6 months to see how things are playing out, especially as interest rates start to come down. I really do believe the PE ratios are going to fly tremendously. I think, VJ, there's going to be great opportunities for you guys to break into the tourism space where the consumption of soaps, is tremendous. And I think as long as you guys make a good quality product and it's attractively priced, I don't see why that won't happen. So I look forward to bigger and better things to come from Blue Power as we go forward. Well, folks, as promised, we'll now announce our winners for today's giveaways, courtesy of Blue Power Group Limited. I'd like to say congratulations to Tijran Audi, to Beyonce 1178, to Angel Young 554. We'll contact you guys directly to advise how you can redeem your prize. Well, folks, that's all we have for today. With that, I'd like to bring today's discussions to an end. I'd like to thank our viewers for tuning in. As always, your support is always appreciated. Huge thanks to our guest speakers, Jeffrey and VJ, for joining us today and providing such great insights into the business. It's great having you both on the program. To our viewers, be sure to look out for updates on our virtual investor forum by following us on social media. We share all things forum related on our official social media pages. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mayberry Investments Limited. And remember, wise investors, slow and steady wins the race. Keep safe, everyone. Goodbye.
The Mayberry Investments Limited Virtual Investor Forum has been the standard for investor education in Jamaica for decades, where top financial minds provide comprehensive insight into the market and ideal investment strategies and opportunities for our clients. Celebrating 37 years of excellence in investment banking. The Mayberry Virtual Investor Forum, investing in Jamaica.
Blue power, super white. Blue power, super white. Blue power, out and clean. Blue power, keep your clothes them bright and your white them get super white. Blue power, it's gentle on clothes and leave a percent now your nose. Blue power, stay and fight our tried and proven. No animal for the use. Blue power, super white. Blue power, super white. Blue power. Hey, a pampute. When you want fresh and clean, smell good clothes. Oh, the Blue Power Super White can do that. Cleanness. Blue Power Super White is the best soap to use on your white clothes. Fight against stain.
Located in wholesales, supermarkets, and stores island-wide.